Hey there friends, today we are building two habitats. One dramatic rocky landscape for an iconic predator that allows it to prowl and stalk both guests and its neighbors, two antelope species in yet another addition to the safari ride. In this video, I will walk you through the steps to build these habitats as we get one step closer to finishing the Grand Safari and BOLLO BOLLO itself. Join me. The general idea for the hyena habitat was that I wanted the guests to walk up towards sort of a cliff face, a rocky cliff face. And you will see that I tend to build these cliff faces in a very simple way, and that is just adding these flat horizontal rock pieces on top of each other, suggesting sort of the layers of the earth kind of look. It's very simple but very effective in creating a realistic, naturalistic looking environment. So the idea was that the guests look up at this cliff and that they would, behind the netting, see the hyenas that would in all likelihood be standing there looking down upon them, and that they would be able to sort of scale the walls of their environment and prowl and look around from a height. And that really, I feel like that paid off quite well. It took a while for the traversable terrain to work for what you see me build here, but it really works. The hyenas use these two sort of V-shaped formations very often to get around their habitat, but also to, in my imagination, look at both the guests that would be walking by and the jeeps that would pass by, but also, of course, the antelopes that they can see readily from various angles. So that idea that I had in my mind really translated well to what you see here effectively on screen. Also, interestingly, not intentionally, but it sort of has the look of like, how would you call it, like a stone ship that sort of has sunken a bit into this oval environment, sort of like some arc kind of structure. That wasn't intentional, but looking at it, it really feels like some sort of larger hidden temple-like structure that was hidden here. So I just add this simple netting that will also get some support structures eventually, because I really wanted there to be like a threatening vibe to the opening, like the introduction to the hyenas. I want there to be just nets, and I can just imagine walking up there and seeing one of these guys looking down at you. I for a while considered placing other animals in this habitat. I considered the jackal, the aardwolf, and even was playing around with the idea of just adding the lion in here, and I don't think that would be a bad call. But it is eventually the hyena that won out, because it fits this habitat quite well, and I felt sort of bad about sort of relegating it to living in the shadow of the lion once again, because the hyena, as I will tell you, is sort of has a bad reputation. It's seen sort of as a bully or as a thief, and this hasn't always been very helpful in making sure people care about its survival. And I didn't want to necessarily, add to that feel by making them live in the shadow of the lion, who is also always seen as this noble creature, although the both of them are just, killers who kill prey and eat it sometimes while it is still suffering alive. But hey, I'm a human being. I have no right to judge animals who eat for their survival. I'm a human being. Animals suffer because I exist. Let's be real. Anyway, let's talk about the hyena. The spotted hyena is one of 4 extant hyena species. It has a widespread range and is considered of least concern by the IUCN, although it is still threatened by habitat loss and poaching. They are known first and foremost for their interesting, stocky build and their complex social behaviors, showcasing complex structures more akin to some primates such as baboons, rather than carnivores. They are the most common large carnivore in Africa, primarily a hunter, but also known as an opportunist, known to steal kills and scavenge. They can digest pretty much any part, often portrayed negatively in cultural depictions. This has caused damage to its continued survival. At this point, we are creating a sort of custom electric fence, I guess. I'm not sure how much this looks like a real electric fence, but I still like the look of this for sure. And it was less sort of intrusive for the guest experience somehow, more so than the electric fence, the barrier that I tried to use earlier. This has a better look to it. We start by detailing the other habitat, but yeah, more on that later. We don't start on that quite yet. It is much more of a simplistic build, more in the genre of buffalo grass and faux rock spam than this hyena habitat is. So yeah, you see me sort of planning and thinking about what to do, and when we start heightening this area, is heightening a word? We start adding height to this part so that you don't see the moat quite well from the guest path. And eventually I will be asking around on some Discord servers about what to add, and I just decided that yeah, this needs to have a rock feature in the middle. So we first grab some of these mud walls to sort of hide the moat a bit more. And at this point, yeah, I was really wondering how much of the view behind the hyenas should I keep intact. Because like this, you will see the whole safari behind it. And that was in general the idea, but the more I looked at it, and I spent a lot of time looking at habitats from the guest view, the less that I liked it. And I wanted there to be an extra thing in the middle, and I wasn't quite sure, should I add just a tree, should I add a big rock, and I did eventually check out a video that I will add in the comments by another creator with a beautiful, really, I mean it, absolutely stunning rock that they made for a gemsbok habitat. And I didn't quite replicate the rock, but I was inspired by it for sure. It was going to be a rock with like these, how would you call it, roots of smaller rocks extending outwards from it. This was a bit challenging because not all of these rocks have, you know, great hitboxes for the hyena to traverse. I was very optimistic by placing a lot of these rocks and sinking them down, but it really messed with the traversable terrain once again of the hyena, so I had to sort of scale down the general idea. Because yeah, what you see me build here, I think I'm going to delete eventually, and I had to go for much smaller rocks. But still, the look has been kept intact of these faux rocks that sort of extend outward from this larger rock structure. And eventually at the safari, the jeep part of this habitat, I will be building a shelter, a simple cave that you can only see from the jeep, where you would realistically just be coasting by in the jeep, and then you see the hyenas either stalking you in an intimidating fashion or just chilling in the shade there in the hay with some boxes for them to play with. So yeah, we go around placing a lot of these faux rocks. Still, I could have done much more, and I think in the future I'm going to replicate the video that I will share in the comments by Zoólogo Experto. I think that's how you would say it somewhat. They are a Spanish-speaking creator, but still, go check out the video. The rock work there is absolutely stunning. He sort of starts with a blueprint by Nicholas Lion Rider, but really makes it all his own. And that was sort of the general inspiration for me to build this much more modest version of what they did. But I think when we do move to the sort of more desert-like gemsbok and ostrich habitat, that I will try to do a more accurate recreation of that with more rocks. So here we go, adding the simple shelter for the hyenas. I didn't want to make I didn't really know where to add a shelter building in here, so for once we went with the route of just adding a cave there. So not the most realistic. In a real zoo you would obviously need to have a more human-like building to get the hyenas inside for medical checks and for safety of your staff as well, but that is not what I did here. So yes, this is where I, as you can tell, deleted a lot of rocks. and had to go for these flatter, smaller faux rocks, which I then proceed to spam all over. So not quite the look I was going for. And always, guys, when building, as optimistic as you can get with adding rocks and everything, just check the traversable terrain of your animals. You will always discover that you have to be more pessimistic about it than you think. So you just have to delete a bunch of stuff, and sometimes it's quite disappointing that you build something really cool and then you find out that your animals just cannot work with it, even though in real life they absolutely could. You can't expect the programmers to animate just pretty much any kind of movement that animals would make. So I understand, but still it can be sometimes annoying that just like plants or simple sticks that you throw on the ground can prevent an elephant from passing through an environment. So yeah, that is the rock work done. We now proceed to the best part, that is painting the terrain, sort of imagining where the small amount of vegetation would go, and then we will proceed to completing the look of the moat right over here, adding this part of the rock face so that it feels like a complete rock structure when you look at it from the guest side. We will also do this on the other side, and then we start planting. So we take these grasses, big one in the middle, smaller ones in an outer movement, and start adding it to wherever it feels appropriate. I feel like it always feels appropriate for me to add plants in sections where the animals would visit less, and that is often at the sides of the habitat or close to rock structures, close to trees, sort of any part that feels like an anchor point, even not quite realistically, but like mentally, like this is a thing in the habitat, a tree, a rock, or whatever. The plants start there, right? They grow there. Like it feels weird sometimes to put these things out in the open. So yeah, more plants, taking all of the grassland plants, taking all of the dry variants, some saltwort is here, some blue sturm grasses, and obviously eventually I will start to add the buffalo grass. So this plant is the sand sledge, which I also appreciate a bit more, although I think it's from like the Oceania pack, but whatever, it fits. It fits the vibe. Yeah, and then of course the green buffalo grass will also end up. We add some enrichment for these guys, some place for them to drink. I try to hide these from the guests because, it didn't feel really. Again, I also hide the feeding platform because it sort of took away from the feel. And then we move these boxes to their shelter, making sure that they visit there once in a while. And then we add the grasses to the more, the greener parts of the habitat. For some reason there, the grass would be greener, right? So yeah, that is pretty much done with the hyena habitat. I really didn't know where to put this tree. I put it here. Still not sure if I should add a second tree somewhere. Let me know in the comments if I made a grave mistake and I should add a tree somewhere else or not have a tree in here. But yeah, this is where the tree went, and you will see in the cinematics, hopefully, that it worked out fine and that it looked decent. Some more detailing is done here on the path. Also, I did a lot of weird things with the path that I don't think are shown in this build. I added all kinds of like sunshades above it, and I deleted them afterwards. But yeah, a lot of time when building a zoo is just doing this, right? Filling out empty spaces, throwing in plants and rocks and making sure that empty spaces look real, and then making sure that that you have rocks sort of as a finishing touch, and it always works. And then we add this retaining wall. One thing that I will say though is that while building, I did notice, and I haven't changed it yet as of recording, that the guest's view of the antelopes that you're looking at right now is a bit too low. and that you sort of see the elephants at the antelopes at the level of their hoofs or their knees, and it's not really good. So I might change it when you get to the cinematics. I don't know how, because I think I will ruin a lot of the path and the design around it. But yeah, it maybe it's fine, because like the general idea is that the guests don't always get the best view of the sort of interior habitats, but they do get a better view of the hyenas and the cheetahs and the warthogs. But that their view of the animals in the safari wouldn't always be the best, so that would entice you to actually get on the jeep and ride it. But I'm not sure about it. I'll debate on it, and when I do film the sort of the tour, you might see me change the way it looks. The impala is one of the two antelopes that lives here. It is an antelope found in eastern and southern Africa. The common impala is not threatened, but its black-faced variant is vulnerable, numbering fewer than 1,000 individuals in the wild. It is an important prey species, but it is not always at a disadvantage. They are known to be very fast, very agile, and they can make giant leaps, 3 meters upwards, 10 meters forwards. If you need to convert meters to whatever you have going on, do so, but that is a lot. It shares its habitat with the common eland, a large antelope found in the same environments, the same regions. The common eland is the second largest antelope in the world, only beaten out by its cousin, aptly named the giant eland. They are a herd species that can form herds of up to 500 animals. This is, interestingly, an antelope that has been domesticated in southern Africa and is kept for their milk, leather, and meat. It is classified as of least concern, although it too has a decreasing population. And we have come at the best part of any habitat building, truly, and that is spamming rocks. Yeah, so I don't really know what I was doing here, right? I was just creating this like rocky section in this sort of bend in the track. I'm not really sure what I was trying to go for, but I went for it anyway. There's a lot of dry plants here, while the green section will have a lot of more lush buffalo grass. In truth, not quite sure what the plan was there. You saw me considering a bunch of other animals. I think if you pause the video somewhere, you'll see a bunch of other antelopes in here. That is because I wasn't quite sure which of these to throw in here, so I eventually went for the impala and the common eland to have a bigger and a smaller animal. So yeah, we make sure that this sort of taller area has rocks around it to delineate the border between the sand and the grass. And we start adding these faux rock pebble structures all over to really connect both of these habitats. And in truth, also the following habitat that I will build will have a far more rockier, much more dry vibe than the one you see me build right now. And I think it fits in a way that the ride section, like the area of the habitat that is connected to the jeep ride, is drier, and that the part where the antelopes would usually graze would be more lush, because this is the ending part of the ride. The ride is going from the left to the right, the way you're looking at it now. So you will leave the desert-like environment and then start to see the grass again, start to see a more lush environment again, and then you go through for a second pass through the giraffe wildebeest habitat. Talking about that though, I've been trying to do a bit of troubleshooting. Maybe some of you guys can help. Specifically the giraffe and the 3 zebras that I placed in that habitat. Whenever I place them in there, they walk to their shelter. Their traversable terrain is fine, they can go everywhere. I checked, but they walk to the entrance of their shelter after like a few minutes of walking around the habitat, checking out the sights, eating, drinking something. Then they walk to the entrance of the shelter and they stand there and they don't move and they just start starving to death until I sort of put a stop to it. And I really don't know what's going on. I've read online that in larger zoos, which mine is for sure, that pathfinding really takes a hit and that some animals just, instead of calculating where to go, they just stand still. But it's weird, and I might have to tear down the whole shelter to really find out what's going on. But it's really weird because the wildebeest in that habitat are completely fine and they go anywhere. And I think I have deluded myself into thinking that only one of the giraffes does it and the other one doesn't. Actually haven't really put that to the test yet, if both giraffes do it or only one of them. But still, it's very weird. Talking about this zoo being large, performance will increase a little bit in the cinematic builds, and that is because I took the step of, for YouTube's sake, removing pretty much every animal in this zoo. There were close to 700 of them in here. Well, at one point there was also 16,000 guests in here, and performance had really taken a hit. You were looking at frames per second in the single digits, and for YouTube's sake I've removed all of them. They're either in the storage or they were sold, or they're gone. And performance went up from like 9 frames per second to 35, 36. And I think that for recording videos I will definitely only add the animals that are relevant. And if I do a zoo tour of BOLLO, even if it is in an unfinished state, I'll make sure that there's animals present in every habitat. Right, so this simpler habitat is nearing completion. We add drin grass, poor drin grass. You used to be the main pub girl before buffalo grass came along, but that is it. We will now take a look at the final view of these habitats. You've made it to the cinematics. If you enjoyed any part of this video and if you would like to see more, then it would be awesome if you would like and perhaps subscribe to my channel. I promise that more content like this will come on a weekly basis. Right, so this is exactly the kind of thing that I wanted. This cliff face greeting you, and right on cue here, this hyena will come storming up it with the sun, the bright sun, also in your face, really like an intimidating feel. I wanted this to feel like sort of an arena, a set piece of its own, and I think it really came together quite well with the soul tree in the back. Even though it looks like the habitat behind it could be connected to it, I don't think the electric fence stands out too much. And we'll get a very nice scene in a bit, which is exactly what I dreamed of happening. Is these two hyenas will start prowling past the antelopes, and the animation just syncs up perfectly. They sort of seem to be looking into their habitat in a really intimidating fashion. They want in, right? They see this prey and they want to get in there. And I think perhaps maybe a bit cruel in a way if this was a real thing. Maybe this exists in zoos, but just, yeah, look at that. This hyena stalking this impala. It is exactly what I wanted. So yeah, I think this really turned out well. Same for the gazelle habitat, the impala and the eland. Just a very simple concept. Once again, the shape sort of organically came together by how I laid out the wheels, but just the planting and the rocks and everything just looks great. Looks I love it. Also, both of these animals are mods, of course, that you can find on Nexus Mods. If you don't have mods and you would like to download this zoo, you can obviously replace all of these animals with, similar African antelopes, gazelles and the like. But yeah, really cool models here. And yeah, I think out of the two, I have to say I like the hyena habitat the most, just because of its unique shape. It was relatively simple to put together, but I think it is one of the more unique builds in the entire zoo, with the columns as well supporting the nets. I might add something at the top of the nets to make it look like they're supported by anything, but yeah, that is something I'll do off screen. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've watched until this point, I really want to thank you for sticking with it. And yeah, I will see you guys next time for more BOLLO BOLLO.